Hey y'all, I'm CQ, and this is Spirit Gumbo, the podcast where we stir the spiritual pot with truth, spice, and sass. Today's episode is all about the moments that make you stop and say, okay, that couldn't have just been a coincidence. Was it a random moment, or was it spirit nudging you with a message? We're closing out Season 1 by diving into the world of synchronicity, those signs, patterns, and perfect timing moments that show up when Spirit is trying to get your attention. We'll start with a gumbo bite called Spirit's Breadcrumbs, then move into a story time with CQ. It's all starting to come together, where I look back on the unexpected synchronicities that helped birth this very podcast. From there, we'll stir into the main theme, the truth behind synchronicity, what it really is, how it differs from coincidence, and why divine timing is only part of the story. We'll pull a tarot truth bomb to see where spirit might be sending you a signal. And then I've got a little spirit side-eye titled, Here's Your Sign. Stop ignoring it for those of y'all asking for signs and then acting like they didn't just show up. So grab your candle, sip your tea, and settle in. This ain't just talk. This is Spirit Gumbo with CQ. All right, now, here's your gumbo bite for today. Something short and spicy to stir into your soul. Ever have a moment where something strange just clicked? You're thinking about something and suddenly a song comes on the radio that hits way too close to home. You have an idea and out of nowhere, people around you are talking about the same thing. You hear the same message repeated 2, 3 times, or maybe the perfect quote shows up on social media right when you needed it most. That's not random. That's not a fluke. That's Spirit's breadcrumbs trail. That's Spirit standing beside you, waving its hand, saying, "Hello, I'm here." Synchronicity is how Spirit reminds you you are not alone. You're being guided, nudged, aligned. Even if it doesn't make sense yet, it's not about proof, it's about resonance. So, when it feels too perfect to be coincidence, that's because it is. Now, take that with you and stir wisely. It's now time for story time with CQ. It's all starting to come together. Before we get into the story, let's break down 2 important words that get tossed around a lot, but mean very different things. Coincidence is defined as a remarkable concurrence of events or circumstances without any apparent causal connection. It's just 2 things happening at the same time, no deeper meaning, no strings attached. Synchronicity, on the other hand, is something different. It's when 2 seemingly unrelated events cross paths in a way that feels meaningful, even though there's no obvious reason or logical explanation for why they connect. It's the universe whispering, pay attention. When I look at these definitions, what I really see is this: belief versus unbelief. We can choose to see things as mundane and ordinary, just random stuff happening, no meaning, no magic. We're just spinning through space on a rock, and space itself, just something that happened. Or we can choose to see the wonder in it all, to believe that there is order in the chaos, that there's a rhythm, a divine logic woven through the madness. Yes, we're spinning through space on a rock, but that rock is surrounded by stars and galaxies filled with energy, mystery, and places we haven't even dreamed of yet. When we believe, we open ourselves to the truth that everything is connected, like strands on the great spider web of life. It's not just coincidence, it's connection, it's spirit in motion. I'll be honest, when I decided to start making a podcast, it was just an idea. Yes, Spirit stirred it into my soul, but still, it was just an idea. But as I started planning, things began happening that made it clear Spirit has been leading me here for a long, long time. And sure, some folks would call it coincidence, but me, I choose to see the magic. Now, I wish there was some kind of tidy chronological order to this story, but there's not, because it's all Spirit. It's layered, it's messy, and it's divine. I've been writing poems and short stories since I was around 10 years old. And yes, at first they were little girl stories. But even as a teenager, I kept writing. It became my safe space, my way of expressing things I didn't have the words to say out loud. Now let me also say this. I hate journaling. It has never resonated with me. But writing things I made up, that was my jam. That's how I process the world. I've been a storyteller for as long as I can remember. As a teenager, I'd go to a friend's house and make up full-on stories on the spot. I'm talking details down to buildings, landscapes, character backstories, all off the top of my head. It was like I had stories living in my bones. At one point, I even thought I might grow up to be a writer. I wrote for my high school yearbook staff, though I quickly realized I hated the structure of it. That's when I figured writing probably wasn't going to be part of my adult life, because I didn't want it to feel like a job. I liked writing for pleasure, for the love of the story, and yet, here I am, telling stories, writing scripts for a podcast. Coincidence? I'll let you decide. Back when I was still planning out the show, one of the segments I knew I wanted to introduce was the Tarot Truth Bomb. Here's the funny part. As a tarot reader, I don't actually keep tarot cards at home. All my decks live at my office. I have two main decks that I resonate with, the Witch's Tarot and the Gilded Tarot. My go-to, since I first saw it, was the Witch's Tarot, but I decided to bring the Gilded Tarot home just for the podcast. Now, in my office, I've got this display cabinet where I keep all my tarot and oracle decks. As I reached in to grab the Gilded Tarot, something caught my eye. The box for the Gilded Tarot. Now, keep in mind, my deck isn't in the box. It's in a pouch. So I'm standing there wondering, why did I bother displaying an empty box? So instead of picking up my deck, I grabbed the box. And to my complete surprise, it wasn't empty. I opened it up and found a second Gilded Tarot deck. And yes, I counted to make sure that it was all of the cards. I was dumbfounded. Like, what the hell is this? Where did this second deck even come from? Was it a glitch in the Matrix? A cosmic prank? Spirit playing games? It took me a while, but I finally remembered. Over 10 years ago, when I first started reading tarot again, I was learning a spread that required 2 decks. At the time, the only deck I resonated with was the Gilded Tarot, so I bought a second one. I hadn't touched that second deck in a decade. Are you starting to see a pattern? Here's another big synchronicity that showed up while I was planning the podcast. This one's shorter than the others, but just as powerful. About 3 years ago, a friend and I were seriously talking about starting a podcast together. This wasn't just a one-time convo. We talked about microphones, recording setups, logistics, the whole thing. At the time, I was also working on creating content for YouTube, so I figured I'd invest in the tools. I ordered a microphone and a desk stand off of Amazon. When they arrived, I unboxed everything, tested it to make sure it fit, made sure the mic and stand worked together, and then I put them away in a closet for 3 years. That mic sat untouched, gathering dust, just waiting for its time. And when I think of all the pieces that had to shift and move in my life for this podcast to be born, I'm honestly awestruck. Could I have made a podcast while I was still living in the States? Probably. Would I have done the deep healing work that's now woven into every episode? Maybe. Would my life experiences, the ones I draw from to share these stories, be different? Absolutely. I couldn't see the full picture when I started writing stories as a kid, or when I was DJing in a video game, or when I unwrapped my very first tarot deck. But Spirit had a plan, a wondrous, winding, soul-stirring plan. So when I ask you, synchronicity or coincidence, I already know where I stand. I've watched too many pieces fall into place at the exact right moment, even when I didn't know what I was building, even when it felt like I was standing in the dark, holding puzzle pieces with no box to look at. But Spirit saw the full picture. Spirit knew the timing, because this journey, this podcast, it wasn't random. It was divinely aligned. And now that I've lived it, I want to talk about it. So let's get into the truth behind synchronicity. So, what is synchronicity really? Let's be honest. Synchronicity has become one of those spiritual buzzwords people toss around all the time. You think of someone and they text you, synchronicity. You're questioning a decision and suddenly hear the same message 3 times in one day. Synchronicity. You glance at the clock, 11:11. Again. Yep, synchronicity. Now, some folks brush that off as coincidence, but if you've tuned in, you know better. Synchronicity is how Spirit speaks. It's that moment when timing, energy, and intention quietly align and something clicks in your soul. It might not make logical sense, but it feels meaningful, and that feeling, that's the message. So what is it really? Synchronicity is more than a cool pattern or a goosebump moment. It's Spirit's way of guiding you through nudges, mirrors, and messages. It can come through a conversation, a repeating symbol, a dream, or even a sudden cancellation that makes space for something better. It's not about control, it's about connection. And one of the biggest ways synchronicity shows up, timing. When Spirit's plans and your soul's readiness meet at the same crossroad, that's divine aligned timing. So, what's the difference between coincidence and synchronicity? Coincidence is 2 things happening at the same time with no deeper connection. It's the roll of the dice. Pure chance, no meaning, no message, just randomness. It's the place where chaos lives. Everything is disconnected. But synchronicity? That's when 2 things happen that may not have a clear cause, but they feel meaningful. It's order in the midst of chaos. It's seeing the patterns, the symbols, the signs, and knowing in your bones this isn't just chance. It's not about proof. It's about resonance. That feeling in your gut, that tug in your chest, that moment where you stop and think, wait, this means something. You can dismiss it as luck, you can call it coincidence, or you can choose to see the magic. Synchronicity often shows up when you're ready for something, even if you don't know it yet. You can feel the shifting of spirit, a pause, a moment, a held breath in the air. It's when you've asked Spirit for guidance, even silently. One of the first things I suggest to people learning to expand their intuitive abilities is to ask for specific signs. Maybe it's, I want to see 3 deer by the end of the week. And then they do. A deer running in a field, one on an ad, another in a dream or a movie. Coincidence? I think not. Your healing, expanding are at a turning point. You've let go of what kept you stagnant, and Spirit feels that shift. That growth is a signal that you're ready to start seeing change and living it. You keep seeing or hearing the same messages over and over again. I can't even tell you how many times I saw 555, the angel number for change, the year before I moved to Canada. Receipts, license plates, the clock, over and over again, 555. You feel a quiet sense of knowing. Even if it makes no sense yet, you can't explain it, but you feel something is about to shift. You just know. That's not random. That's Spirit saying, "This way, love. Keep going." Synchronicity and free will. Here's the thing. Spirit doesn't force meaning on us. It doesn't show up with ultimatums or threats. It's not, "Do this or else." It's more like, "Here's the path to what you've been asking for. Are you ready to walk it?" It's like being on a quest and arriving at a crossroads. You see one path lined with breadcrumbs, soft signs, quiet nudges, a sense of direction. The other? Overgrown, thorny, unknown. Which one do you choose? Because we have free will. We can ignore every sign. We can call it coincidence. We can walk away. Or we can choose to listen, to lean in, to follow the breadcrumbs. Synchronicity is invitational, not controlling. It's Spirit whispering, "Want to dance?" But you still have to say yes, and you still have to be willing to give the signs meaning, because that's how you participate in the unfolding. Here's my final thoughts on this. It's always up to you. It truly comes down to what you believe and how you choose to see the world around you. Is it all just random chance? Or is it a synchronized dance? Is it a world where nothing means anything? Or is there meaning in everything? Are we just happy little accidents floating through space? Or are we living in a magical, wondrous, deeply intelligent universe that's always trying to connect with us? If you're like me and you're starting to see the magic, here's what I want you to remember. You're not imagining it. You're not making it up. You're not reaching. You're remembering. You're realigning. You're responding to Spirit's language, the quiet stitching that weaves the sacred into every day. And the more you notice it, the more it shows up. Because synchronicity isn't just a moment, it's a conversation. It's time for a Tarot Truth Bomb, where Spirit speaks through the cards and I don't sugarcoat the message. Today's pull is all about synchronicity, those moments that feel too aligned to be random. So, as I shuffle, take a breath and ask yourself, what sign has Spirit been sending me that I've been too busy or too scared to notice? Where have I been calling it coincidence when it might actually be guidance? What am I being invited to see differently? So, our card for today is the Strength card. The Strength card, because signs and synchronicities, is number 8 in the major arcana, just in case numerology is important to you. On this card, there's a woman who is gently, I guess we could say, petting a lion. This card is a reminder of our inner strength, and it's also a reminder for those times where we need to speak softly and remember that we can always tame the beast by being gentle and compassionate. One of the things that I love most about this card is that it's a reminder that we catch more bees with honey than we do with vinegar. So if you're in a situation, this is time for quiet strength. This card can also mean that it is time to look at things from a further back place. What I mean by that is it may be time to guide things, but from the background. I like to use the wizard from the Wizard of Oz being behind the curtain. He pulled strings from there. This isn't a time for us to be actively out in the front. This is a time for us to be in the background. Pay attention to what's going on from that position. Because sometimes we have to observe and see what's really going on before we step in and move things along. Spirit said what it said. Spirit didn't stutter. Take it in, sit with it, and do what you will with it. All right, now it's time for a spirit side eye, because some of y'all are out here playing with energy like karma won't slap you in the back of the head. Here's your sign. Stop ignoring it. Let me give a little spirit side eye to the folks who keep asking for a sign from spirit and then straight up ignoring it when it shows up. You know who you are. You're out here like, Spirit, if I'm supposed to do this, send me a clear sign. And Spirit's like, boom, repeating numbers. Boom. Your friend says the exact words you needed to hear. Boom, a video pops up with the messages you were literally just thinking about. And what do? Probably just a coincidence. Or even worse, can you give me another sign? Gets another sign. Okay, but can you give me just one more? Come on now. You asked for guidance. You got it. And now you're just dismissing Spirit like it's a spam caller? Yeah, no, we're not doing that. If you're gonna ask for signs, at least have the decency to pay attention when they arrive. Because here's the truth. Spirit is always speaking, but are you actually listening? That was your spirit side eye. Now, go sage your space and mind your magical business. As we wrap up this episode and this season, I want you to remember something. Synchronicity doesn't always come with flashing lights and thunderclaps. Sometimes it's subtle. A lyric that stirs your heart. A conversation that lands just right. A moment that feels bigger than it should. You don't have to chase signs. Just notice them. Trust the pull. Follow the thread. Because Spirit is always weaving. Not in straight lines, but in spirals, patterns, and perfect little intersections. And those intersections, they're not accidents. You're not lost. You're not off track. You're in it right now. Synchronicity is real. Spirit is real. And you're already part of the dance. That's it for today's brew and for this first season of Spirit Gumbo. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me on this new endeavor. Whether you've been here since episode 1 or just pulled up to the pot today, I've truly enjoyed every single moment of stirring this gumbo with you. I'll be taking about a 6-week break between now and season 2, so keep an eye out. I'll be back around the beginning of December. Until then, I'd love to hear from you. What have you loved about the podcast? Are there themes or stories you'd like me to explore in the next season? What segments make you lean in, laugh, or shout, yes? You can always reach out and share what's resonated with you. And if something stirred your soul today, pass it on. Don't forget to follow, rate, and leave a review or share your thoughts on any of our socials. Until next time, this ain't just talk. This is Spirit Gumbo with CQ.